Hey everybody, I'm here today with Heather Desorcie, who works for Tifft Nature Preserve here in Buffalo. So Heather, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. If you
Of
want to
course.
start out, tell us a little bit about yourself and just a little bit about what you do.
So my name is Heather. I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I came to Buffalo in 2012 as a freshman to go to Canisius College in the animal behavior program. I graduated December 2015. I wanted to be a zookeeper when I first came to Canisius. My career trajectory changed since then. I did do an animal husbandry internship. And I like animal husbandry, and I do a little bit of it still because we do have two turtles in our nature center, George and Chester. But I took the education route. I am now a facilitator of learning at Tifft Nature Preserve, which is a fancy way of saying educator. But they call us facilitators of learning intentionally because we are very like place-based learning, hands-on learning. My role is more to guide students to discover their own learning versus standing up and lecturing.
Cool. So if there is such a thing, can you tell us what a typical day is like in your job?
Yeah, COVID's thrown a wrench in things, so I'll describe a typical day before COVID. We'll get there. So on a typical day at 10 a.m., a bus would be rolling down the driveway, maybe a couple buses filled with kids from a school, and we'd spend the morning working with them. All school groups go outside for a nature hike. Some may do indoor activities depending on if they book a tour or a workshop. So a workshop would include a couple different stations, either inside or outside the building. Tours, just walking on feet with someone like me. We have different themes. So we have homes and habitats, ecosystems and adaptations, wilderness survival. Also, my cat is using the litter box, so I hope you don't hear her scratch.
That's okay.
And we'll cater every tour to the different themes. Using the plants and animals that are on the trails, all of our programming is centered around local ecology and Tifft Nature Preserve. Then after lunch, I do a little bit of lesson planning for our after school program with Public School 59. So Public School 59 is physically connected to the Buffalo Museum of Science. Oh, and that's another thing I didn't mention, and I don't think a lot of people in Buffalo know, that Tifft Nature Preserve and the Buffalo Museum of Science are one and the same. So I would drive over to Buffalo Public School 59 and work with third and fourth graders for the after school program. And it's all science related programming for the after school. But it's a little outside my wheelhouse because I'd have to do programs on energy and movement and physics and chemistry, which isn't necessarily what I studied in school. But I love the after school program because the kids want to be there. They choose to participate in the after school program. So they choose to stay at school longer until 5 o'clock before they go home to do more school versus just going home and, I don't know, playing video games, eating a snack. And there's always a wait list for the after school program, so it's really special. The kids are from the east side, they're an underserved community, and they want the science engagement. So yeah, that's my typical day.
Do you have, before COVID, did you tend to have programs just about every day going on?
Yeah, every day, so it's pretty consistent. School program at Tifft in the morning, drive over to the Science Museum to do after school in the afternoon. And then, oh, I will mention, I also work weekends and nights. That's not something that I mind because the programs we do on weekends and nights are fun. So then every weekend we would have at least a birthday party, if not two, and we might have a Girl Scout program. In the winter time and fall, we do night hikes, obviously at night, so it's an evening program for me. And then the first Tuesday of every month is a sci night, which is an adult-only science program in the evening.
Wow, that's a busy schedule.
Yeah.
What do you do in the summer when schools are off?
Oh, the summer's so fun. And you know, it really broke my heart that we couldn't do camp because summer camp is one of the most fun things about my job. You're just outside all the time, working with the kids. And it's more fun because when you're doing school programs, the goal number one is that they learn something. Goal number two is that they have fun. But summer camp is reversed. Goal number one is that they have fun. And then goal number two, hopefully they learn something. So this year we did virtual summer camp and it worked. It was really sweet. Kids had never met each other in person, and by the end of the summer, they're chit-chatting with each other in Zoom. But yeah, it's just a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been a recurring theme for most careers. We're finding COVID's taken a pretty big toll on what we're all doing. Hopefully it'll be back to normal soon. So, Heather, how did you get to where you are? Can you tell us just a little bit about the path you followed, the, maybe classes that were particularly important, experiences that you had along the way that helped you get to this job?
Mm-hmm. So as a freshman, I got to participate in the Canisius Ambassadors for Conservation program, which I don't believe you guys do anymore because Dr. Nunes had it and he has since retired. But you apply for it and you have to do an educational presentation, and it's really competitive because only 6 students can do it. And thinking back, I'm not really sure why I applied. I guess because it was a great opportunity. It provided, so you go on a trip over spring break and then you work at Iroquois National Wildlife Refuge for half the summer. So I think I was like, oh, it'd be a summer internship opportunity, and the trip that year was to Belize. So I was like, yeah, I want a free trip to Belize. And I got it. And so the trip is free through grant money, but then they give you some financial compensation for your work in the summer, but not as much as you would like a typical job. It's less than minimum wage. And so you teach kids at Iroquois. And I remember the first day and the buses rolling up, I thought I was going to throw up. I was so nervous. And then it just kind of came naturally. And I was like, oh, I think I like working with kids. I think I did it first for the free trip, but then I discovered I actually really do like teaching and working with kids. So I did it again the next year. And then my first job after graduation was with the Missouri River Bird Observatory in Missouri. So that's where for 6 months I did a stint in Missouri, then I came back. And I was their seasonal educator. And then I can keep going. I will say one of the best decisions I've made is to get a master's degree. So when I graduated Canisius, I was kind of done with school. I'm not huge into academia. Some people, like, that's their happy place, but it's not my happy place. So I got a master's degree in education, and so that was very different. Like, none of my classes had anything to do with animals or wildlife or plants or anything, and it was a little sad, but it's one of the best decisions I've made because it's made me a better teacher. When I look back to my time in Missouri, I was like, oh, I did so many things wrong because I just didn't know.
So do jobs in your field, do you find they often want a master's degree, prefer a master's degree, or do you just feel that it's a good idea just from the standpoint of being better prepared to go out there and do your best job teaching?
I think it makes me more competitive. So when I do apply for a job, most of my peers aren't going to have a master's degree, and it'll make me stand out. So for that reason, it's good to have one. It's definitely not required. But also, as a new grad, I was kind of jumping around from seasonal job to seasonal job. This Tifft job is my first job that I've worked at for a full year. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
It's exciting to feel settled.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed my seasonal jobs and my internships in school, and not all my internships and jobs were education. Like I said, I did an animal husbandry one when I was in Canisius. Yeah, it's nice to feel settled at a job.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think in a lot of I find in both wildlife science and environmental education, it's so hard to get that first kind of long-term or permanent job. So many are just short-term, seasonal. So I think that's really great advice that having a master's can sort of set you apart from the rest of the applicant pool.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the best part of your job, and what is the worst part of your job?
It's funny because I thought about this question before this interview, and they're kind of the same. Both answers are working with the public. I'll start with the negative so that I end on a positive. When I say like the worst part of my job by far is working with the public, but it's just a few individuals. At my job, I have to wear many hats. So I am an educator, but I also clean the building. I also take care of the turtles. I also have to enforce the rules of the nature preserve, especially on weekends. And our rules, because it's nature preserve, are fairly strict. It's not a public park, so we don't allow dogs, we don't allow bicycles, we don't allow open grills, and I've had people scream at me until I've cried. So yeah, there's just really nasty people out there, and that is my least favorite part of my job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, the best part of my job is definitely working with kids. I enjoy working with adults too. I haven't decided yet. There's pros and cons to working with a school group. They show up for 2 hours and then they're gone forever and you never see them again. I think I enjoy more working with kids on a day-to-day basis, but like getting to know them and working with them over an extended period of time. I don't think I ever see myself working in a school. I just really enjoy working outside. So so I don't think I'll ever be an environmental educator that has like one set of kids for an entire year. And that's like my main job, is just that little tiny pod of kids. But the other day I was outside and this family was walking by and the kid was looking at me and I was looking at the kid and I was like, oh, I think I know that kid. And I was like, Mariah? And she said, yeah. And she was a summer camper from last year. So I was so proud of myself.
That's awesome. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I have no plans on leaving Tifft. So I don't know, maybe I'll still be at Tifft. I will say like Tifft is really small. So sometimes our education staff, it consists of 3 people, but right now it's 2. Our staff in total at Tifft right now is 4. So there's not a ton of room to move up. You know, it's me and my supervisor. So for that reason, it's possible maybe I'll end up somewhere else in 5 years. And there's also really cool opportunities out there. So I'm definitely not opposed to traveling a little bit.
Cool. So what advice do you have for a student who might be interested in pursuing a career like yours?
Definitely try it first with like a seasonal internship, because if you don't like working with kids, you should not become an environmental educator. But you know you like kids and you know you want to teach the public. My first piece of advice would be to get good grades in school. I know that sounds silly, but like I said, I don't think I was the best student when I was at Canisius. I was average. I'm being a little hard on myself, but I didn't take my coursework as seriously as I should. And you would be surprised in your day-to-day at your job. Like, I need to know the family of whatever species. And I'm like thinking back to my mammals course. I'm like, like we memorized all those. What was that again? So taking your classes seriously and choosing them strategically, I would say too. I feel like there's gaps in my knowledge, and I'm not too hard on myself on it because I did want to be a zookeeper to start. So of course I'm going to take animal classes, but I don't know that much about plants, for example, and it's a huge gap in my knowledge, and I'm having to make up for it now.
So are there, since you were at Canisius, are there any courses that you found particularly interesting, or any courses that looking back you wish you'd taken that you didn't?
I wish I had taken entomology. I think it might be through the bio department. At least I think it was when I was there. But I was like a little squeamish about insects, and I've gotten a lot better since. And I didn't take that class because I was like, oh, I'll just be freaked out the whole time. Now that I working at a place that focuses on like the local environment. I have to do a lot with insects, and again, like I don't know that much about it. I've all learned it on the job. So I wish I had taken entomology. Probably the course that served me best was ornithology, because my niche is birds. Before COVID, I was leading a women's bird walk at Tifft. So that kind of like set me on my path to being an environmental educator. Birds are just such a good catalyst for environmental education because they're out during the day. You're guaranteed to see at least 5, probably more. And if a kid screams, they tend not to fly away, depending on the species. So knowing my birds, I feel like made me stand out and helped me get the jobs that I did too.
Excellent. I kind of laugh as you're saying that because I used to work in environmental education and I taught a bird program through Audubon. And I always used to say the same thing. Even if you can't find anything else, you'll always find at least 5 birds.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think when you ask people what are their favorite animals, they always go towards a mammal. But people they need their eyes open to birds to realize how cool they are. And I get to do that. And I get paid to do that, which is pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Heather. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Good luck getting everything kind of back to normal at Tifft when this hopefully all winds down.
Thank you. If any students have questions, they're more than welcome to shoot me an email, and you have my email, so you can give that out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
Bye.
Bye.